Hi guys, it's Kamil here, and this is my 7th review of International Booker Prize Longlisted book. Today I'm coming to you with Mac and His Problem by Enrique Vila-Matas. Vila-Matas is probably one of the biggest living names in literature. His works were translated into more than 30 languages. He's been called the Spanish George Perec or the new James Joyce. Hearing comparisons to Joyce or Perec, you already get the idea that Vila-Matas is a strongly intellectually driven writer. In his works, you'd find him often in discussion with the world of literature in terms of both the biographies of the writers as well as the plots of the most well-known novels or their themes. Now, let's talk about his newest translated novel, Mac and His Problem. Mac and His Problem on the plot level is a story of recently jobless lawyer Mac Hughes, who, fighting depression, decides to start writing a diary. And this diary is to become a tool through which Mac will exercise his apprenticeship of literature, as he himself calls it. However, from the first page, it looks like this is more than a diary, as in the opening sentence of this novel, Mac says, "I'm fascinated by the current vogue for posthumous books, and I'm thinking of writing a fake one that could appear to be posthumous and unfinished when it would, in fact, be perfectly complete." Mac Hughes lives in the upper-middle-class neighborhood in Barcelona with his very pragmatic, totally not in love with literature wife, who's running a furniture business. His neighbor happens to be one of Spain's most well-known writers, whose first novel is titled Walter and His Problem. Yes, Walter and His Problem, Mac and His Problem. Similarities? Walter and His Problem is a story of ventriloquist in search for multiple voices, written as an interconnected short story collection where each story imitates the writing style, the voices of famous writers. Walter and His Problem becomes a novel that Mac Hughes, the protagonist of Vila-Matas, decides to rewrite. Here the play between fiction and reality, repetition and creation starts. Walter and His Problem, the novel Mac rewrites, acts as a symbol of those original retold stories. Vila-Matas sees the literature as a medium through which stories are told and retold, are told and retold, and this is one of the main themes of this novel. On one of the pages, Mac says that every book is a journey to the origins of the story. The motive of tribal storytellers passing over the traditional stories of their ancestors to the tribes collected around the fire is the one that Vila-Matas returns to quite a few times in this book, building a continuum between those ancient storytellers and his work. But it's not only the literature Vila-Matas has in mind when he talks about the repetition. The institution of the repetition is the main activity of humanity and hence also omnipresent in its arts, and as such is explored throughout this novel. And this is a brilliant fragment on page 53 that I want to read now. It's a short one. The young arrive, only to slink away the next day, no longer young, but old. In fleeing from the world they destroyed, and their memories are destroyed as they die, or they themselves die, so destroying their memories, which were born dead. This rule knows no exception. In this respect, everyone imitates everyone else. As an epitaph on a grave in a Cornish cemetery says, "Shall we all die? We shall die all. All die shall we, die all we shall." In the second part of the novel, after Mac is done describing each story from the book he plans to rewrite, he starts retelling those stories, describing them to the reader and telling him how he would rebuild them, how he would repeat and recreate them. In parallel, Vila-Matas' novel takes on a bit darker, a bit more psychotic tone, as it starts becoming even more self-referential. When you realize that in a lot of aspects the novel we are reading is slowly becoming the novel Mac rewrites. Mac's life starts gradually to resemble the stories he recreates. And here another theme of the interplay between fiction and reality is being showcased. As that resemblance of the Mac's reality and the novel he rewrites is in quite serious part due to Mac's doing. And here in Mac's life, one of the earlier comments is exposed. Comment on the writer's ability to shape the reality and the reality affecting the work of a writer. Fiction and reality are referred to as an old married couple locked in an endless nightmare with the same anguish obstinacy as the whore and her pimp. This is also a novel about the construction of the works of literature, of the role of poetry, short story, both which Mac elevates above the novel, as the novel, in his opinion, is a form of death transforming life into fate. In the first part of the novel, Mac leads an amusing discussion on the role of epigraphs, where the horoscopes take the role of a traditional epigraph. I guess to show how easily it is to overinterpret epigraphs' meanings and how redundant sometimes they are, Mac reads those horoscopes acting as epigraphs to his diary entries only after the day has passed. As over the years he became a master of interpreting those horoscopes so they match his reality. Mac and his problem can be also read as a homage to the great world of literature and to the storytellers that came before Vila-Matas, but also to his contemporaries. Mac, the main protagonist, is an extremely well-read character who, while working on his book or while musing on all the themes I already mentioned, would recall multiple writers and their opinions on various topics that he ponders over. On the pages of this novel you find big names like Borges, Szymborska or Pessoa, but also newer big names like Samantha Schweblin. Schweblin herself probably is blushing reading this novel, as Mac creates almost a biopic, 1 page long, addressing and complimenting her fever dreams, admiring her ability to make some of the things she describes happen inside the reader. There is a constant interplay between those big works of literature and this novel. When writing about the story in which Grimace's contest takes place, yes, Grimace's contest takes place, Mac would talk about Witold Gombrowicz, where the same Grimace's contest is one of the main scenes in his Ferdydurke. Mac would create out of the blue a detailed footnote and soon talk about David Foster Wallace, very Germanic footnotes. Now, thinking about it all, I have to say that it's incredibly admirable to pack all of that into just 200 pages and to make it work. As I'm sure after a few last comments of mine, you are probably thinking that the reading of this novel must have been very studious and laborious, and surprisingly not that much. Quite early in the novel, Mac described the original novel, Walter and His Problem, the one he rewrites, as the work that is strangely beautiful in places and in other places uneven and quite deranged. And he says that he is pretty sure that he didn't read it till the end. Rephrasing or repeating to stay within the vocabulary of Vila-Matas' novel, I would say that I found Vila-Matas' work beautiful and strangely insightful in places, intellectually challenging yet stimulating, and even if sometimes uneven, hardly ever tiresome. And I did read it till the end. Maybe one more parting comment. For the sake of sticking to the schedule of my reviews, I read this book in the course of one day. While I believe that this one would work even better if one takes it slowly, digests it in pieces, leaving room for longer internal discussion with Vila-Matas' themes. Okay guys, thank you for watching. All the likes and comments and subscriptions, it helps a lot. And I hope you had a brilliant weekend, Easter or Passover or whatever you celebrate. And I'll be back with you soon talking about Red Dog by Willem Anke. Okay guys, bye bye.